is ugly.
Things are in jeopardy right now after you lose 2 out of 3 to Tampa Bay, not to mention living through that bad weather.
Yeah.
I guess we have to get a little bit into that. And also, something, we got something really special here. Thurman Munson's World Series trophy, which
Wow.
you can talk about the legacy of maybe one of the greatest captains ever. You were a captain, weren't
It's a
you,
beautiful,
Willie?
beautiful thing. Yeah, I was captain a couple years after Thurman. I think Greg Nettles had it for a minute. And then I was honored with in 87. No, actually, it was 86. Yes, yeah.
I don't know if people realize the depth of your legacy. Like, I mean, when you think about it, probably, I got to put you in the top 2 or 3 greatest Yankee second basemen of all time. And a lot of people put you right on the top.
Yeah.
Do you see, I mean, excluding yourself, who else would be in that class, though? Not many second basemen in Monument Park.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of rings, more than fingers.
Yeah.
If you count the coaching rings,
I'm
right?
using my toes now, right?
I'm like, I mean, I'm hoping, by the way, make no mistake, I'm hoping to get those rings one day and maybe sell them, but I don't seem to be able to get my hands on them. But
Well,
it's
I didn't see
amazing.
Tony Lazzari play, of course. He was great back in the day. I mean, he played with Babe Ruth and all those great guys. I was always a lover of Bobby Richardson. You know,
Yeah,
saw him
special
towards
class
the end of his
act.
career a little bit. Yeah, class act. Played on some great Yankee teams, and I got to be friends with him over the years. That little fraternity of second basemen. I guess going back to Horace Clark recently. And
That's my guy.
Horace Clark. I love Horace.
Mr. Batting stance.
With the bow legs. With the bow legs.
The
Oh
batting
man.
stance.
You remember? Not
Oh,
many
yeah.
kids. Not many ball
Had the
players
high-
have bow legs. Yeah, he had the little swinging. He had choked up a little bit, but he had those bow legs. He could fly too. I remember when I was a kid, we had kids in the neighborhood that had bow legs. We'd make fun of him all the time back in the day, But he was one of the few bow-legged infielders or baseball players. I loved him. Like Bobby Richardson, and over the years, just being affiliated with just the infielders. that
Cano
came.
could have been a
Tony
candidate.
Coolback.
Cano could have been a candidate if he
Oh,
would have
no
stuck
doubt.
around.
That's sad. To me, it's always sad when they mention
Yeah.
his name because I think he was on the right path for Hall of Fame, and it's just a shame that things curtailed the way
Yeah.
he did. I mean, defensively he was solid. I mean, he was smooth. He could hit. I mean, I just love to watch him hit, and I always saw him as a guy who was going to break my little records, I guess, in time, whatever. But yeah, he was a special player.
How do you feel about Jazz?
I love Jazz. I love his talent. I think that he's the kind of
Set
guy.
up questions, little suck up questions. Unbelievable.
Well,
he loves jazz. He loves jazz.
I love
Admit
him.
it.
I
I
love
do.
him
You
too.
love jazz.
I do. I like the energy he brings. I think it's a little different than what we've seen.
It's different. A lot of it on the stylish end of it, stylish tip, if you will, and that's fine. Have fun, enjoy yourself, and all that. But I actually think that we haven't really seen how good he could be. I think that there's so much more under the roof there with him. He has gifted talent, of course. You can see that. His bat speed for guys. Speed. I love speed, as you know. And he just needs to kind of settle in to New York, I think. And it's a transition. It's a big transition. But I need to see where he is at the end of the year with a full year on his belt. But I love him. And again, he's hurt right now. Hopefully he'll bounce back soon.
There's so much to talk to him about. I mean, so little time, so much to talk about. I mean, do we go Munson? Because we got, I mean, that's, my favorite
I love this
Yankees.
trophy. I think this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
We were just saying, he was a Yankee captain. I mean, right? I mean,
Yep.
to be a Yankee captain, first of all, before we get into the Thurman, what did that feel like? I mean, did you feel
Yeah.
that responsibility, accountability?
Yeah, it's funny because knowing the history of the Yankees and the legacy of it, I knew there was very few Yankee captains, and me being into probably my 9th year with the Yankees, I kind of felt that I was always that leader in the clubhouse, quiet leader in my own way. By example, I was learned from Thurman Munson, go out and play, keep your mouth shut, play the game. So I had a feeling that they were going to do it. Billy had kind of given me hints, Billy Martin.
Who called you to tell you you were going to be
Well,
the captain?
Billy gave me hints. He's been hinting about it for a few months prior to that. But over the years, he's always made me feel like I was going to maybe morph us into that whole idea of being a captain. So when it came about, I wasn't surprised. I actually felt like I'd already earned that tag because prior to being named officially, I felt I was always that guy anyway. So it just kind of just solidified everything, brought everything full circle. Unbelievable honor and privilege to be able to be named a Yankee captain. But leading up to that, Brandon, I kind of had a feeling that it was going to happen. I just didn't know when, and when it did, it's just tough to describe when you think about the names that are mentioned in that very.
It's a big deal.
I think it was eight of us all around. So I took that with a lot of pride because I was taught how to lead by guys like Thurman Munson and Roy White and Chris Chambliss. All these guys were mentors. I was 21 when I came as a kid, and these guys were in their early or late 20s, so they had experience. So I just was a sponge, just thinking about.
Shout out to Roy White, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Another guy who doesn't get the
Yep.
props.
Exactly
and
right.
Respect.
You
A
look-
great left
I'm
fielder,
telling you.
right?
Belongs
Eh,
in Monument Park too, I think.
I-
I don't think he's there.
No, I don't think he is.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. No.
You have to- I
and-
mean, not that the other number 6 that belongs.
Yes.
Love Joe Torre.
Joe Torre, of course.
Shout out to him, but you got to have both of them.
But even if you don't retire his number, you still have a platform out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves that, and more than deserves that. And you're right. No one really talks much about Roy. There's that funny era going into the '70s where there were some lean, bad Yankee teams, and Roy and Mel Stottlemyre and those guys were the glue of those teams. They were the best players, and so. You look at the top 10 records in Yankee history, Roy White is in the top 10 in numerous categories. So for me, I just think they need to give him more play. I mean,
Tell me what you think of this, but is Mel Stottlemyre one of the greatest pitching coaches of all time?
no doubt. No
Did you
doubt.
feel that? Was that obvious? That because the
Yes.
players loved him, and he obviously had some great success. But is that an overstatement?
No, not at all. Mel to me was, it's funny because he was always quiet and unassuming in the background, but he was a tough son of a gun. I mean, Mel, back in the day when they would brush you back a little bit, Mel would protect his players, and he didn't mind mixing it up a little bit. But his demeanor and the way he communicated pitching, David Cohn. I had many hours of just talking to David Cohn about him, and David obviously just raves about him. But Clemens later in his career, Dwight, forget about it. Dwight, even with the Mets and back and forth, and he just had this guru way of teaching pitching, simple, smart, use your best pitches, attack the zone. So I used to admire watching him because he was just so cool in how he went about his business. Quick little story or whatever. We both number 30, obviously, right? And when I went to the Mets, it was one of the most nervous I've ever been because I wanted to call him and ask him if I can, use this number because he had the number but he was a pitcher. Obviously, he had the jacket on, so nobody could really see his number. So I said, Mel, is it okay if I It's really a longer story because his wife got involved in it because she was like, no way, I'm giving her my number. I got a medallion with it's number 30 on it. But I called this house and she got on the phone and she goes, Mel, some guy named Willie Randolph wants to talk to you.
So it's like that.
Yes, and I think she knew who I was or whatever, but it was kind of like weird because it's still that Yankee Met thing, that little rivalry thing, whatever. So, but she was sweet. But Mel got on the phone. I said, Mel, this is a tough thing, but I just thought I'd ask. I mean, I respect you, and you've had the number, but I said, I'd love to have number 30 if it's okay. And he wasn't having it. Very, very politely, he wasn't having it. But I think because his wife had the number 30 medallion. She was like, nope, I'm not getting rid of my medallion, so you forget that.
A couple Giants turned down.
Recently, Phil Simms, yeah.
But, before, Jake, the best coaching staff, and Jeter and I argued about this all the time, because it's all about the players and players. But think about the coaching staff.
Yes.
Mel, Joe.
Yes.
Obviously, we realized how great a manager he was. Roy White on that staff.
Chambliss.
You're at third base.
Yep.
Chambliss hitting coach.
Chambliss was hitting coach
I mean,
there for a while. Yes.
how good was that? And let's not forget the great Don Zimmer.
Don Zimmer. And then later on, Mattingly became a coach, too.
This is the bench coach. I mean, how great!
That's great staff of all
Joe
time.
doesn't get enough credit, not only but I just think it was such a big part of the success. Is it overstated though, or is that
no? Joe was smart enough to know that you have good people around you. You delegate what they do and their power and everything, and they report to him. He oversees everything. Obviously, he makes the final decision. But he empowers you to do your job, and that's important, not just from a coach's standpoint, but knowing the players, knowing that, okay, This is a solid group of guys, veteran guys, smart guys, guys who played the game, been there, done that. And that to me is invaluable because players want to be led. They want you to lead them to the so-called promised land, ultimately a world championship. But you can't fool them. They want to be able to come to you and ask you a question, and you give them an answer that just not just saying this is how you do this or that, but I've been there, I've done that, I've been in the trenches, I know what it feels like. And players respond to that a little bit more than guys who just kind of just stay on the technical stuff or whatever. Because technique is always important. These guys are very, very talented, but it's what happens between the ears. That's where a good player goes to the next level because you put that cerebral part of the game together. And now you can take off with your talent.
Was there something there in the World Series? Did you feel like in those late games in the series, a lot of guys were coming to you guys saying, "What did you do in this situation?"
Yes, but that was more prior to the game, and in the clubhouse, on the plane where you're just talking shop. It's hate to say it this way, but when you walk in the clubhouses nowadays, the game's over. We used to have a beer and we're sitting there talking the game like we're doing right now, sitting around talking.
Old school.
Now, when you walk into the clubhouse now, when the game's over, everybody's on their phone, checking their social media, not talking about the game. Now, that's just the way it is. I don't frown on what they do because that's just a different era. But that's the difference in sitting there and talking about the game, learning from each other in real time. We used to talk about the game during the game.
You see how politically correct now Willie's going?
What?
That's how the game was. That's how it's
Yeah,
like,
and-
screw the game the way it is now. I
Yeah.
want it back the way it used to be.
You're right.
Right? Get the
but
runner off second base. Stop with the 2 pitches over to the
There you
first
go.
base.
There you go.
I'm sorry, man.
But-
I'm not down on that. But if you want to get a little, I got to vent a little bit. But
Yeah.
I hate the guy on second the most. And I understand why it's an advantage now it's tough to manage and coach when you start getting into these long. But that's what made the whole thing so crazy and exciting.
Yeah.
You get those 14, 15 inning.
Yeah.
Now the guy on second, it just seems anticlimactic.
Yeah,
It's just
I
not
played
cool.
in an 18, 19 inning game with the Brewers one time, and it was like a badge of honor to have been able to play a game. That's like a doubleheader in one game, So, and it's very rare. So that's what I understand why they changed it, because that should be something as a fan. If I got the ticket for that game, I'm going to put that in a nice little sleeve and keep that for my grandkids. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. It could have been a dramatic game, a great game, and those are things that I think is a loss when you take that out of the game. I mean, it came about because of the fact that they're throwing too many pitches nowadays, so they don't want to run out of pitching. And as a manager, that's a terrible feeling when they're getting toward the end of the game. And I hate putting in infielders and outfielders throwing into the game. It's crazy. That's not baseball to me. So I just hate that rule. I'm right there with you on that.
Well, I know you mentioned before too that you learned from guys like Thurman, Greg Nettles. You were
Yes.
younger. What are the lessons that you felt that they taught you that were crucial that maybe are missing today with baseball players learning from that previous generation?
Excellent question, and that to me just boils back to just basic fundamentals. It sounds simple, but
See that
that's what we did. These guys were great players, but they knew how to execute. How to get it. Nettles was a big power hitter, but if you need to get a runner over, he knew how to do that. And you can see in his approach, that's what it's his mindset. You don't have to tell him that, okay? So the fundamentals, just bunting. I know they don't do as much of it nowadays, but those are winning situations that you're putting your team in. If you can go out there and able to execute those plays, it's going to make your job a lot easier as far as winning. You don't have to worry about the big home run or the strikeout.
The hit and
You can
run.
manufacture. I love that. I see a little bit of that coming, a little full circle, a little bit of it. I love watching teams who are not even great teams, but if you play the game with aggressiveness, like the Red Sox are playing that way now. They've gotten away from the long ball, and I love the way they play. Kansas City, they
Ooh,
put
they just
pressure.
don't stop.
Oh yeah, even the Yankees just played recently. Who they played recently? Where Tampa Bay. They were running the Yankees out of the ballpark the other night. So that's what I love about the game. It's just the thinking man's part of it, just being aggressive. Having action, just being able to execute. Baseball's a beautiful game, but it's a thinking man's game still, and it's all about execute. So those guys taught me how to not just play to win, but execute the game and how to win. You follow me? And so as a young player, I was already used to that mindset. So that's why it's easy for me to pass that on to today's players because I learned from the greats. And people forget, I signed originally with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I was christened by guys like Willie Stargell, Al Oliver. I mean, these are great people.
Manny
Sanguillen and these guys. I
New
mean,
Hall of Famer,
Rennie
Dave
Stinnett.
Parker, right?
Dave Parker, who's going into the Hall of Fame this year. I'm going to be there. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But Dave Parker taught me how to play the game.
Will you be there in Hall of Fame?
I'm going, of course. Well,
I love
Cece's going in, of
Yeah,
course.
you
So
gotta
I'm going to go in
give
for
him
Cece. And
Shout out to Willie Stargell, though, by the way. My
Oh,
top
yeah.
3 greatest autographs of all time.
Wow.
Perfectly every letter. Oh, Willie had a very strict,
Yes.
growing up, and you could read every letter,
Yes.
almost Mariano Rivera level.
Mantle level?
Yes.
Same level, Mantle?
Yes, same level, yes.
Yeah.
And also, he was a gentle giant.
Oh, he
a
was.
Beautiful man. Yeah,
He
beautiful
taught me.
guy.
He,
Really
and he
nice.
took me under his wing, Brandon, and he'd have to do that. I was 20 years old. He took me out to dinner, took me to this fancy French restaurant. We were drinking fancy wine. I'm like, I'm drinking Boone's Farm as a kid, and he can Morgan David.
Literally.
I mean, cheap wine. I'm like, oh, this is crazy,
Willie, top 3 moments.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you've been on the field for many great moments. So I'm putting you on the spot, not with the top one. But your top 3, like, oh my God moments, highlights.
I got 2, man. I got maybe 5 or 6 really big ones, but probably, obviously, the first one was, Chandler's home run when he walked.
That's
he walked
number
off.
1.
Well, no,
Okay.
Not in any order
Okay,
because
okay.
that's a tough
All
one.
right,
to
let's
put
start
in
again.
order.
Get
Okay.
good.
All right. So we just that was the first one. In the '76, I'm a rookie, so that was the first big moment. The second one, obviously, was that's when the World Championship in '77 when Reggie hit the 3 big home runs. That to me was like crazy, like storybook. Like, are you kidding me right now? Are we living in this right now? So that was one
How
of them.
great
too.
was Reggie?
I mean, he's Reggie. I mean, you're not even surprised when he steps up in that magnitude because he was just always ultra confident all the time. Loved the moment, didn't care if you liked it or not. Had that chip on his shoulder, but you knew that you were good in a big spot. He loved it, he relished it, but it wasn't like we were even surprised once he got that second one. You knew he was going to do it again because you could just feel the aura around the night and who he was. Reggie was counting the 1, 2, 3, So that to me is one of and maybe 1 or 2, 1A, 1B is my first All-Star game. Same year, 1977. Now I got to be a little selfish here because I'm a kid growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and here I am playing the All-Star game in Yankee Stadium, literally rubbing elbows with players, Hank Aaron, Harmon Killebrew. I mean, some of the greatest players in the game that I was emulating a few months earlier in my room with a curtain rod swinging, emulating their stances.
Who was the
or whatever.
biggest name that you just couldn't believe you were sitting next to or playing next to?
Well, I mean, when we first met Ted Williams, that was the game in Boston where we had the 1999, when they had the greatest players of all time.
That was unbelievable.
So that's why I said I had more than 3 because that's got to be up there too. Because again, I'm actually walking. You saw the way it was set up on the mound. Okay, you had all the greatest players, and Ted was there in his wheelchair, and then I'm in that group, and I'm actually turning around. There's Hank Aaron. You kidding? There's Harmon Killebrew. There's the greatest player, Willie Mays, all these guys, and I'm sitting there going, did I die and go to heaven here? I mean, is this really, I'm living this? So that had to be one of the biggest moments also for me.
Was that moment at the '99 All-Star game like a moment where you realized that you've ingrained yourself in baseball history forever? After even out past the championships, when you saw who you were surrounded by?
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but now that you put it that way, I mean, that again maybe jumps to the top of the list. But at the time, I was just in awe. I was just kind of couldn't believe I was there in that spot. I mean, the greatest players ever played the game were there, and I'm standing in the middle of them. Some kid from Brownsville, Brooklyn, and I'm rubbing elbows with these people at Fenway Park. So yeah, though I can go on, Brandon, a little bit longer about some of the other things that just blow me away. But
As the third base coach, you got a couple too.
Oh yeah, I mean I was just talking about this the other day with a friend of mine when Boone hit the home run. I actually called that night. And now I was being a coach. because remember, you got a minute me tell the story. You got me tell us real
I
quick.
never heard this story. I
Oh,
love to hear
okay,
it.
okay. True story. Okay, Boone, the manager, Aaron Boone, was our third baseman leading up to that series, but he started
He's
struggling a
struggling.
little bit. Okay, Joe sat him down that night, and I was really surprised because Booney had done a nice job for us leading up to that, but Joe had a feeling that, hey man, you gotta sit down tonight. So in the old stadium, the batting cage was down the right field line. So we would walk from the old clubhouse. It was almost like maybe a block, maybe a city block down to the clubhouse where the hitting cages were. And as we're walking down, I can see that Aaron was really, really, really down. He was really moping a little bit. He was upset. And so I'm trying to make conversation to kind of get him going because, like, you know what, man, I feel bad that you're feeling this way. But I said, hey, man, be ready. So I put my coach's hat on, and I'm thinking, let me say something that's kind of lift them up a little bit. So we had this little thing in the coaching staff in the room. But before the game, we would have our pick to click. So we would pick a player. We go, who's going to be the star tonight? Soriano, or I got the pitcher, I got Guidry. We would do that as a coaching staff just to kind of, make it light or whatever. So so as we're walking down the hallway, I'm trying to keep them up. I said, come on, Booney, pick your head up, man. You're going to be fine. I said, you never know. You might end up doing something special tonight. I said, you're going to be my pick to click tonight. You're going to be the hero. I said it, not like I was a prophet, I should have went to Atlantic City. I could have made a lot of money that night or whatever. But no, I said it to kind of build him up. And you could see him kind of go, yeah. So we went out there and we threw BP. He took some good swings or whatever. And sure enough, it evolved to the game where I'm going, are you kidding me right now? So Wakefield threw that hanging knuckle curveball, and he took him deep. And if you look at that video, back at that video, as he's coming around second, coming to third base, I'm pointing at him. I'm saying, I told you. And we did it at the same time. We gave each other a high five. If you look at that video, that's what I'm doing. She's saying, I told you.
I love that story.
Yes,
That's unbelievable.
Yes. And,
So that's on your top. That's one of your fab moments.
yeah, as a coach, yeah. And then, we could talk about the WBC, which was a huge thing, too. Think about it. We got our butts kicked for a couple of years, but we finally won in 17. I was the third base coach on that team.
That's our helmet right there.
That's right. Yeah. And we finally won the championship. But that accumulation of great players was another big thrill for me because, again, Hall of Famers, the Mookie Betts of the world, and that staff was really good. We had, again, Joe was on that staff, but the manager, obviously. No, Jimmy Leland was the manager. We had Tino on that staff, hitting guy. We had Alan Trammell was on that staff, myself. Wow. So we had a nice veteran staff on that team. And so that's a big accomplishment for me too, to be a part of that team that put USA on their chest and went out and played for country and pride. That to me was the ultimate also.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Thurman Munson for a minute. We got his. First of all, did you get a World Series trophy?
Not like that. I got the miniature. one.
How do you get the biggie?
Well, I think that you have to know Mr. Steinbrenner pretty well, I guess, or Christie. It was that. No, it wasn't Christie. Back then, it was what's the name of the company that was making it back? Ball 4.
Yeah,
about making it back then. Now, if you put a few extra
George
coins.
Steinbrenner actually delivered this. He didn't want a ring.
Yes, I heard that.
Right?
Yes.
And he wanted his trophy.
I would love to have that. I have the replicas, but that's the ultimate right there, man. But if I had known back, I probably couldn't afford it though, so I don't think it would have mattered.
It's possible. They were expensive.
Yeah.
You don't see many of the big ones.
No, you don't. Very rarely.
That's Thurman's World Series trophy.
That's
and
beautiful.
I love the names are on there. It's just a beautiful trophy.
Yes, it is.
And
yes, it is.
I think that now we're moving a little away from it, especially you had those 5 World Series. Mm-hmm. But that 77, 78 were very, very, very big.
Yeah, yes. That's when we
hard
first
to win back to back.
Yes, and it was very, and I think the Oakland A's were the last team to do that back in the '60s, I think, or whatever. Reggie was on that Oakland A team with the badge.
It was early '70s, right?
Yeah, early '70s. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, when it Bando and Rudy and By the Blue, they were they were the last team to repeat. But yeah, and again, I think there's something to be said for the fact that the Yankees had arrived again. Because again, there were some years where we weren't that good. So it's coming into 75, 76 when we brought in Mickey, myself, Ed Figueroa for some pitching. Then Reggie came later, but that was an exciting time for New York baseball because the Yankee fans, started to feel like the pride was coming back, like we've had a legitimate team. So we got our butts kicked in 76 by the Big Red Machine, and that was embarrassing. But that really propelled us into 77.
How so?
because we were embarrassed. I mean, come on, we got swept by the Big Red Machine.
You really were. I mean, was that a tough off season?
Yes, it was very tough because we just got the crap beat out of us, and we knew we were better. Nationally, American League, we didn't like them, they didn't like us. So
You think that you think we do we lose some of that now?
yeah, I
Everybody
think
playing everybody?
there's too much fraternizing.
I'm throwing that onto the list.
No,
with
that's
the-
okay,
I'm
but
throwing
that's
that
all.
on the list of
It's been
things
one of
I
my
don't
pet,
like.
it's been one of my pet peeves too, though, in a way, is that it's okay to, show respect, mutual respect for each other on the field. But and then you can, back in the day, we go out and have a beer after the game, take them out, have a beer, dinner, nice little steak. But I just think there's too much of that fraternizing buddy stuff, and maybe it's part of it because a lot of these guys have dual agents and stuff. They know each other. I guess everyone's very comfortable that they're doing well, so it's good to be nice. Back then, we had to scuffle for Christmas money and, vacation money at the end of the season. Those were huge. Those playoff checks were huge
So
for
there's
us.
no chest bumping and high fives and hugging it out after the game.
No,
You lost.
very few. I mean, we used to fight all the time. I mean,
Was the hatred between you and the Red Sox that really real back then? Was it that serious? I mean, the
Yeah.
Bucky down looking at that home run, I'm thinking, but that was just another dagger. But
Yeah.
was the hatred that deep?
Oh yeah, it was real, and it wasn't just a team thing. We had individual guys that didn't like each other. Whether it was Fisk and Munson, I mean, Jerry Remy and myself. Rick Bertelson was a tough guy. We didn't like him, so there was a lot of this side stuff going on too. And then then the fans really made it. I mean, they curse on your mother for God's sake when you go to the games. I mean, come on, your
Oh,
children.
there's no boundaries.
And the Yankee fans, they were they were bad too. I mean, but you feel on that side, you don't notice it. But
But we
I
won.
know,
We won. We had a little bit of some relief.
Yeah.
The Red Sox fans, the pent up anger was
yeah,
deep.
they were really
Was
bad.
there anything specific that Thurman? I feel like a lot of leaders in clubhouses today kind of want to let's stay back. Was Thurman ready for the fight?
Oh yeah, no. For Thurman, Greg, we knew it was us against the world. We came into a series knowing that they didn't like us, so we had that attitude, like, okay, And Billy Martin was very instrumental in that. Billy was a guy that he was like he was like Stalin, or I guess
Go for it.
Do you have a Thurman story that you could share with us about the leadership or anything that happened during that World Series year? And also, did you go to the mound? And now I see everybody going to the mound. Back in the day, I don't remember all the infielders coming to the mound.
Yeah,
Did they?
not as a group, but yeah, we did have guys who would come in. We didn't. There wasn't that many visits out. Nowadays they draw a little path, from the dugout and everything. But there was very, very few times. I mean, Ron Gidgey and those guys, they would tell the pitching coach, "Hey, get off the mound. I mean, I got this. What are you going to tell me? Whatever. There's no
Were you a mound visitor?
Yeah, I was, because I was a talker. I was a chatter. Remember back in the day we used to talk it up. No one talks. I used to, come on, let's go. Hey, come on, Chuck. We used to do that. We used to go, come on, strike him out. No one does that anymore. You don't hear
You were
guys
doing
talk.
that for your teammates?
Yes, we would literally be on the field and like a fan rooting the guy on. Like, come on, cat, come on, throw a strike. Make him hit it to me. Come on, let's go. Come on, throw a strike. Let's go. We were chattering all the time. No, you didn't know. You didn't know that. You look puzzled.
I can't believe that.
No.
Well, when I was younger watching you play, I mean, I wasn't sitting.
No, we
I wasn't
talk
sitting
all the
in virgin
time
seats.
because that goes back to even high school. We chatter in high school,
Yeah,
college,
yeah.
or whatever. So we did that. Not everyone. Nettles didn't do much. I was a talker.
Did
I
you have
was
a
chat-
famous chat that when you went to the mound, anything you would say? I know Thurman would always be like, "This is some mess you created."
Yeah.
See you get out of it. But
No,
were you like an antagonistic chatter?
No, not
or-
antagonistic. I just go, hey, come on, man, those strikes, man. He said, make him hit it to me. I said all the time, make him hit it to me. And that would kind of ease him out a little bit. The guys was picking a little bit, not throwing strikes. I go, listen, man, I got your back. Make him hit it to me. What we got you? Hit on the ground.
love
We got
it.
a double play. So we do stuff like that. But I remember always constantly, what do you call that? Just chatter, just banter or whatever. But you're trying to encourage your guy, that kind of thing. We did that all the time. But you don't see that much anymore.
So we're live on Facebook. We're gonna let you go. We really appreciate the
Oh, this
conversation.
has been a blast. You kidding me?
I personally have one more question.
Before I just want
Yep.
to say one thing. If you're out there and you're enjoying this conversation, don't you think you should be coming back on a regular basis?
I'll be back.
It's
Let's
my
do this.
sentiments exactly. Like, right? Well, I mean,
Let's do this,
we
man. This
so
is so
much
much
to
fun.
talk about. So many things to go over.
I got so much. I've been so blessed to be in the game over 4 different decades. Play with some of the greatest players in the game, and to me, the beauty of baseball is the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the stories that you tell, the unbelievable experiences that you share, not just with your teammates, but with your family. You know, it's just invaluable, whatever. So I got a lot of this up here. I forget some crap sometimes too, but
I think you got a pretty good memory.
Not bad for an old dude.
Close this out, Jake. And by the way, there's no bigger Yankee fan than Jake. I mean,
Always
Jake.
gotta support. Gotta support.
Well, I love you, Jake. We got to do some things together, man.
I'm always ready. I'm
All
always
right.
ready. But I gotta ask you this. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is the collector's vault too, right? What's the piece of memorabilia that you treasure the most in your collection? And what's the piece of memorabilia that you wish you could have had and you had the opportunity, but you didn't think of it in the moment?
Wow, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Obviously my rings are important. Obviously, the big rings or whatever. You know, if we can stay on Thurman Munson vein for a second, Thurman Munson, when I was a rookie, he called me Rook, and in trying to get me comfortable with the team because I had a little chip on my shoulder and stuff like that, and wasn't sure I would be accepted by my teammates. They wanted to embrace me, they wanted to love me, but I had the little Brooklyn chip on my shoulder. So he actually bought me it was a bright yellow t-shirt, and in lime green, a hideous lime green color, it said Rook across the front. And I wore that t-shirt for like 6 or 7 years. I mean, literally, it was just like, you know, I had holes in it and stuff like that. To this day, I still have that t-shirt in my t-shirt drawer.
I'd see us auctioning that off.
That's awesome.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna bring it in. I'm gonna just show
Yeah, we gotta
everybody.
see that.
It's got mothball holes in it and stuff like that. I cut the
That's cool.
sleeves off of it. Okay, all right, for the summertime. But yes, I to this day, it's something as simple as a little ugly T-shirt. Thurman Munson gave me that T-shirt. Now to this day, I have it almost 50 years later, 40 years
Sounds
later.
like you're 1A, and I could see that being important.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it out. I'm gonna bring it out. I still have it. It's all faded and beat up, but I would never get rid
there
of it.
something that you would have liked to have collected that you didn't?
What on the field? Yeah. Well, to me, it's the Gold Glove. There's no doubt in my mind I should have won at least multiple gold gloves. Okay. Now again, back in the day, it was a little different. We had some great second basemen: Lou Whitaker, Frank White. You know, some really good Bobby Grich. And I don't know. I think it was a little political with the award because Rawlings sponsored the trophy, but I used a Wilson glove. So I don't know. I think that, and all the guys that win, they always seem to be Rawlings glove owners or whatever, right? So I get a little partial towards their guy, and so, but I took defense very. It was very important to me. I love to make a defensive play more than actually getting a big hit. I wanted to make sure that I solidified that middle of the infield, and that was very important to me. So I always felt like a Gold Glove. I would give my silver bat away to get the Gold Glove. I mean, just to have one. And I know I should have won at least 2 out of 3, at least 2 or 3, because you know when you think about statistics, you know they didn't have WAR back then, the statistical analysis of WAR. But back then you went by how many errors you made, which wasn't a foolproof way of analyzing that. But I was years where I had very low average, and I know I should have won championship. I won championships, but I always just finished up, put a bow in it. When I would always razz, Frank White or Bobby Grich or Lou Whitaker, I say, hey guys, I say you guys might have the gold, but I got the diamonds. Would you rather have the? And he go, oh, F you, Willie, you son of a bitch.
I won't want to be you walking around Kansas City. Yankee fans can't be loved like the way the teams in the '90s in Minnesota, where you beat up Minnesota all the time.
Brandon,
you guys get beat up Kansas City all the time.
We were just talking about the Boston Red Sox Yankee rivalry. There was nothing. The Kansas City Yankee rivalry for the window of maybe 4 or 5 years was as intense and as hated as any. Okay, we used to fight with them all the time. Brett and Nettles got into that brawl at third base, and that was a good one. We weren't holding each other. We were throwing some haymakers. Okay.
What's crazy is nobody got thrown out of that.
Nobody got thrown out.
How's that possible?
Well, how about the day that Hummer Gray almost knocked me into left field, and nobody got thrown out? If that happened today, I could have pressed charges agast the guy.
How about Frank White and Greg Nettles at second base?
Yes.
Runs them over like a linebacker.
But that's what we played. We took going back to buddy stuff. We took no prisoners back then. So when McRae went after me, that was kind of retaliation for what McRae was going through with Nettles and those guys. And Nettles loved to fight. And so if it was a man if he was on first base, he was gonna get a big lead and get a good secondary lead, and he was coming for your butt, okay? And if you slid hard, if you said something, He's ready to, let's go. So I miss those days. I love those days. But Brandon, I'm telling you, the Kansas City Yankee rivalry was as intense as the Red Sox Yankee rivalry, bar none.
I remember it, and it was like yesterday, and boy, you beat those guys to a pulp.
We
It seemed
did.
like you
We
really
owned them.
did. You did own them.
And it took the great Dick Hauser, the late great Dick Hauser, to go over there in 1980 and finally beat us.
Shout out to him. Rest
Yeah,
in peace.
shout out, big
Oh,
shout out
yeah.
to him. He was my
Great-
infield
great
coach.
manager.
Great manager, great infield coach. He was my first infield coach when I got to the big leagues. Taught me a lot about how to turn a double play and everything like that. Great guy, Dick
All
Hauser.
right, well,
I'm gonna
thanks,
get up to
Willie.
it, though. Awesome.
Hey, love to hear your feedback. Tell us what you're looking for. We're Everything Yankees. By the way, we'll be auctioning off or selling this trophy. If you're interested, let us know. And Willie, we're going to be doing some shows together. I hope
Yes.
that Willie will join.
Yes.
Right?
I had a blast, man.
You're on
Yeah.
eBay Live. No, if you check out eBay Live tomorrow. If you're on live now, check out eBay Live tomorrow. We'll be doing a whole bunch of auction special stuff. Willie, thanks for coming.
My pleasure,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Good to see you.
Everybody have a great day. Fight through this rain. Hopefully we get a game in tonight.